they were kind of shocked as much as I was when they showed me their computer screen when I picked up the truck after the original repair, that it was over $36,000 that Toyota had to pay in warranty repair, and that's wholesale cost. That's not
just to get you to that point.
Just to get me to a transmission that would overheat in 4-high.
Meet Jason Wisner. Over the last 7 months, he went through 2 new Toyota Tacoma hybrid transmissions, and he's now on his 2nd new Tacoma and 3rd transmission. This is his story. So Jason, you've had a kind of a difficult experience with your recent Tacoma. We're hearing a little bit more kind of feedback from owners around this. So I wanted to hear kind of your story with your 4th generation Tacoma.
So I got one in March of this year. I really love driving it. It's a fantastic experience. It's a beast off-road. And to that end, it only ever really needs to go into 4-high. You never need to use 4-low.
Yeah, so this was a 24 model year?
This is a 25.
25 model year
TRD
Tacoma.
Off-road Hybrid Max.
Okay.
I noticed I have kind of a long driveway. I notice every morning, only once when it's cold, I back down the driveway, I put it in drive. It shifts from, being off in hybrid mode to first. Then when it goes from first to second, there was a pretty significant clunk. And so I took it into the dealership. I think I had already had the first 5,000 mile service, so it had maybe 5,500 miles on it. And they found metal in the transmission oil and decided that it needed a new transmission and a new hybrid module, whatever that is, I don't know.
Okay.
So they had to order the parts. It took about a week.
So you have a 2025 TRD off-road, right? Mm-hmm. You're experiencing this hard shifting, and then the dealership notices this metal in the fluid.
They put the new transmission in. I picked up the truck on like a Wednesday. I drove it for a couple days back and forth to work. I started to notice like a rattling sound coming from down here, which I was thinking maybe had something to do with the wireless pad being replaced.
Tell me about your off-road experience, though. Also the overheating issue. When was this, and how did that happen?
Sure. So I probably have spent 24 hours total in the truck in the first 5,000 miles, going places like Kingston Peak Road, Rainbow Lakes, nowhere where the truck had to be in 4-low. It was all during the summertime, so it was like 80, 90 degrees outside, and I only ever put the truck in 4-high, and occasionally I would use one of the terrain modes if it was like little loose gravel or something, but otherwise the truck is phenomenal off-road. The main feature that I really like about it is the downhill assist when you're in 4-high, and being able to control the speed with that. It just makes four-wheeling.
And the crawl control feature. Yeah.
It just makes four-wheeling like so much easier and even more fun. And so anyway, I never had any bad experience with that until they put the new transmission in. And when I went four-wheeling that day, it was 35 to 40 degrees outside. So
it's a cold morning or a cold day.
The whole day was 35 or 40 degrees. So we went up Apex Trail out of Central City. We were up on Kingston Peak Road, and I was going maybe 3 or 4 miles an hour. I was with another guy who was a new four-wheeler, and so he wanted to go very, very slow. And I was literally coming to a stop, and all of a sudden I got a transmission overheat warning on the dash.
Okay.
Yep. And I've got pictures of that with the mileage. I think I sent you those too. So you can see that like 5 or 6 miles away it happened a second time. So we let the truck cool down. This is with the new transmission now. We let the truck cool down a few minutes. We decided to put it in 4-low because it doesn't work. The transmission is hard. Finished our trip, no problem. Got down to the town of Alice. And while we were in Alice, I put it back in 2-wheel drive. Again, no issue. We decided to go up to Yankee Hill to see the park in the parking lot and look across the road at St. Mary's Glacier. And I was going mostly up in two-wheel drive up that hill, and we hit a point where it was, bigger rocks and loose boulder. So I flipped it into four-wheel drive, and in probably 30 to 45 seconds, I got another transmission overheat warning.
This is the same day?
Same day.
Okay.
Same cold temperature. I never had any transmission overheat warnings on the original transmission. I just had the clunk in it. So I immediately took it back to the dealership. They test drove it. They probably put 60 or 80 miles on it, and they couldn't get it to replicate the issue. So I came down there on a Thursday, which happened to be the day that the Toyota field engineer was at the dealership, because he's only there about one day a month. And I went on a drive with a service advisor, and we weren't able to replicate the overheating, but again, we weren't driving off-road. We were driving around town. And we were able to replicate the clicking or ticking sound. And I literally emptied every single item out of the car so it couldn't be, something loose or rattling. And we were driving around like this, pushing every panel.
Touching everything.
Mm-hmm. And, verifying that there was some noise coming from underneath the console here. The field engineer from Toyota took it on a test drive. He didn't hear anything. There was no overheating, and so Toyota said, what do you want us to do? We're not going to do anything about it because we can't replicate it. So I tried to encourage them to go on a test drive with me and go somewhere where we could actually replicate it, and they just adamantly refused.
Well, because the dealership here is kind of near Denver, right?
Yeah.
The off-road trails are probably, 20, 30 miles away?
Yeah, it's an hour drive, yeah.
Or, anyways.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
So they had the truck for about 10 or 12 days. I finally got frustrated with the dealership, and I recognized that it wasn't the dealership that was the roadblock. It was Toyota telling them we're not going to pay. They were kind of shocked, as much as I was, when they showed me their computer screen when I picked up the truck after the original repair, that it was over $36,000 that Toyota had to pay in warranty repair, and that's wholesale cost. That's not
just to get you to that point.
Just to get me to a transmission that would overheat in 4-high.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that number is pretty high number.
Yeah. So I believe $22,000 of it was for the transmission itself. 10 or 11,000 was for the hybrid module, and then the rest was for little bits and bobbles and labor.
Okay.
It was about 1,300 in labor, so not even that much. Just the parts are.
All right. So now what's going on? What's the next thing that happened?
So now I want Toyota to do something to make sure that my truck is reliable and working correctly. The dealership gives me the number to Toyota Corporate. I call Toyota Corporate. They have these people who, seemingly have bad attitudes and are having a bad day when you talk to them. They don't seem pleasant about anything, and they don't seem exuberant about the fact that they're talking to a customer, much less trying to help somebody who's having a bad issue. And so they seem, just imagine whatever company you've dealt with where you've had terrible customer service just by the person's attitude from the get-go. That's just how the whole conversation was. It was stalling. It was saying, we can't do anything. Our field engineer is, the final say. To, them saying, we understand you, your logic is not lost on us, we understand your truck is overheating, but we just can't replicate it, or we just won't replicate it, is really more the case. And they said no, they weren't going to do anything. And so I was very frustrated, and I decided to call back and see if I could talk to a different representative. And the different representative that I spoke to let me know that the people, when you call that number, have the final say at Toyota. Their decisions are final. There's no way to appeal it. There's nothing you can do about it. And she was essentially very rude and nasty, telling me to accept that they weren't going to do anything about my transmission overheating. So I went back to the dealership where I bought the truck with the intention of just handing them the keys back and being done with Toyota. And when I got to the dealership, they were, very compassionate and understanding of the whole situation. They understood I bought thousands of dollars of accessories for a fourth generation Tacoma.
Well, let's show something that you did with the truck. By the way,
Sure.
The truck we're standing next to is your truck, but it's not the same truck.
Yes.
We'll get there.
We'll get to that part of the story.
All right, but show me some of the accessories.
Okay, so these are Tux mats. So
What else?
these are almost $300 and they're custom fit for a 24-25 Tacoma. In the center console, I've got the center console safe. That's $300. The only place you can get that from is Toyota. Nobody else makes anything that fits. What you can't see that I had on the other truck was about $1,500 worth of ceramic window tint and film on the front, which I haven't put on this truck yet. And then I have this Paragon tonneau cover, which, with shipping tax, et cetera, is over $2,000.
So you had those parts on that 2025 truck we're talking about. So you're at the dealer, you're kind of frustrated at this point, right? So what's next? What do you decide to do next?
So I was going to turn in the truck. The dealer said, we feel bad for you. We understand you have all these accessories. What if we have a slightly even nicer truck? This one has a couple more options than the last one. Same price. We'll eat a bunch of money. You've got to eat a tiny little bit of money. And then, can we try and make you happy with that? And the dealership, like I said, did the best they could. And I accepted their offer. And now that's how we got into this truck, was to get me out of a truck that I was basically scared to drive. And I was going four-wheeling and camping the next day, so it was, it was sort of pertinent at that time. It's not like I had a week or the weekend to think about it. I was either going to drive this unreliable truck and burn up the transmission or, be in a different vehicle.
Yeah, and this is that vehicle.
This is that vehicle.
Okay. So, but this is the same powertrain, right? So this is still the iForce Max.
Exactly.
TRD off-road.
Correct.
Truck.
That's all the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and how old is this truck, and how many miles do you have on this truck?
This truck has about 635 miles, I think, on it, and I've had it for a little over 2 weeks.
Okay. So how's this truck right now, as far as your experience with this second truck?
So it actually, from the get-go, it drives differently than the other truck ever did. It's not achieving the same gas mileage, which I find odd, it being the exact same truck, as the other truck. Got about a mile a gallon better than this. And it seems to shift a lot more smoothly. I am noticing in the last 100 miles or so that from that first to second gear cold shift in the morning, I'm starting to notice that slight little clunk.
But not like before.
Not like before,
Okay.
but before I think it built up and it got worse and worse over time as well.
What did you want Toyota to do? I guess either with the first truck or even now.
So with the first truck, what I wanted Toyota to do was to acknowledge and resolve the fact that the transmission overheated in 4-high. Whether it was calling the truck a lemon and doing a VIN swap on my lease, or putting in a third transmission in that truck, that doesn't really matter. I just wanted them to resolve it so that it didn't have an issue. Now that under the circumstances that I'm on to a second identical truck, I'm starting to see the beginnings of the failure of the previous truck. The whole thing just makes me very uncomfortable, which has a tremendous sadness to it, because I love Toyota. I love the Tacoma. I love driving this platform. I appreciate the reliability and the consistency of the older platforms, but this thing takes driving a Toyota to a whole nother level of fun, and they're zapping that with the fear that something's just going to break.
And that was not your first Toyota you purchased. Can you explain some of the other vehicles? Can you just
let's go back just to March of 2024.
Okay.
It's now October of 2025. Since March of 2024, I have bought a 24 RAV4, a 25 Camry Hybrid, a 24 4Runner, and the other 25 Tacoma.
Well, so in a year and a half, that's basically 4 Toyota vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other vehicles you're happy with?
I have zero problems.
The Camry, the RAV4, the 4Runner.
Zero problem.
This is the 5th gen 4Runner we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the previous one.
Yeah.
Okay. So you appreciate the brand. I mean, you had history with the brand.
Yeah.
Even going before then, right?
So back in 2016, 17, I was an auto broker, and I could sell any vehicles I wanted, and I wanted to take good care of my customers. I also looked at the financial side of a vehicle transaction, and so I didn't just go out and sell cars. I went out and helped people, and one of the ways that you help people is you sell them you lease them a financially sound car. You never sell them a car because it's just a financial mess. And so the number 1 vehicle and the number 2 vehicle were Toyota Tacomas and Toyota 4Runners for resale value. And so I would literally lease somebody a vehicle, and 3 years later they would go and get a check and then go get another one and just keep doing that and doing that. That was, with the previous generation Toyotas before they were going to the 4-cylinder turbocharged engines and the 8-speed and transmissions and all that. The older Toyotas were just bulletproof and rock solid. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I just, I guess we'll find out what happens in the future. If you want to keep this truck, or if the truck has any more issues, I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.